In this video, we're going to review using the NetAngel Dashboard for your Android devices. As you can see, I'm logged into the NetAngel Dashboard. I'm going to go ahead and select my Android device here. And that's going to load the Android device view. Now, the first thing that's going to come up for a premium device is going to be the activity view. There's a couple different things that you'll see in the activity view. I have here on the left the filter, which is defaulted to the last day. And it by default selects all the three types of activities. You can also just view alert activities, which you can also see highlighted with yellow on the left here of the activity. So the first thing we see in my history here is that we've got some activity on Chrome. It was used for 5 minutes. If I expand it, I'll get details on what this activity was. I can see that Chrome was used at these different times. And I can also see the internet activity that was used from Chrome. Now I do have these two alerts here. As you can see, I accessed gambling.com from my device so that we could have some example of an internet alert. If I want to change the settings on this, if I'm not concerned about gambling activity, I can go in and change this category for gambling, which this site was categorized as, to allowed. Now you'll also notice here, this is the visibility settings for this category. It's currently set to alert me when a site from this category is accessed. I can also set it to just record the history and not alert me, or I can actually just exclude it completely from the history. I'm going to go ahead and return these settings back. Now here you'll notice on top, this is the actual domain. If I want to leave the category as it is, but just exclude this domain, I can actually allow this domain or specifically block this domain and change visibility settings just for this domain. I'm going to go ahead and return that again to its normal settings and close the URL dialog there. Now on the right here for this application, you'll also see options for this application. From here, I can set the application access. If I want to completely block access to this application, I can select this. This will actually stop the application from being used on the device. And this, again, is the visibility option. So if I don't want to see this in my history, I can disable the recording of this application in my history, or I can set it to alert me every time this application is opened. You also have the option to set internet access for this application. If this is an application that tends to run into problems because things get blocked and I do trust it, you do need to be cautious that you're not enabling any application that has a web browser that might enable the user to access other content, but you can either allow all internet access for this application, which means this application will bypass the filter, or you can actually block internet access for this application. And likewise with the settings for visibility on the internet activity for this application. One other option here, you can exclude this app from time locks. We'll get into that in the time lock section, but that is available here from the activity view as well. The next item that we see in my history is a phone call. Now you'll see that I called NetAngel on our NetAngel phone number, and the call lasted 13 seconds, and this was an outbound call. Now from here I can actually always allow this number so that this number would never be blocked by NetAngel, or I can actually block this number so this number would never be able to be called or receive calls from this number. The next item you'll see here is an SMS message. So I actually sent 2 messages to NetAngel. If I expand this, we can look at what those messages are. So you'll notice here I sent 1 message to NetAngel, and previously I sent 1 message to NetAngel, and it actually had a word that our filter picked up. So it detected this offensive word and it actually sent me an alert, and it's been flagged as an inappropriate message so that I know to review it. That's it for the activity view. The next tab here is the web filter. So this will allow me to configure the web filter. The first 3 options here on top, we have the option to enforce safe search for Google and Bing. With that enabled, we also have the option to block other search engines. So with this enabled, this will enforce that I am going through Google Safe Search, and it won't allow me to go to Yahoo or any other search engine that comes up as a search engine category. We also have YouTube restricted mode. This can be set to off, moderate, or restricted. Now, a word of caution on this, once these settings are set here, you can actually change the setting in the browser on the phone. However, those settings are completely disregarded as we're doing this from the back end. So although it may look like the user is able to turn those off, they're actually enforced through DNS. Below that, we see here the web categories. These are defaulted to what we found to be the most acceptable for most people, but this is customizable to your liking. Again, there's 5 options here for any category or URL. You can allow access, block access, don't record the usage history, record the usage history, or alert me for any usage of this category. The next tab here is URL exceptions. Now, this will allow you to add specific exceptions outside of the categories. As you can see here, this is the one that got added from the application history, and it's not currently set to either block or allow. If I want to allow this, I can simply click allow, or block will block this URL now. If I want to alert anytime this URL is accessed, I can change the visibility setting to alert. To add a new URL, just click on the add URL exception and type in the URL. Now you can do any subdomains. So for example, if I want to block all Facebook and all Facebook subdomains, I would type facebook.com and then go ahead and click block. So this will block www.facebook.com as well as mobile.facebook.com. If I only want to block www.facebook.com, I can do it this way. But keep in mind that this would only block www.facebook.com and mobile.facebook.com would still be accessible. So it's better to use the absolute domain when possible. If I want to remove those, I can remove those exceptions from my filter. Our next tab is device locks. Here we can configure 3 different locks for the device. We can disable mobile internet for the device. This would be used if you're trying to conserve data on your cell network. This will only allow the device to be used on Wi-Fi, thus conserving your cellular data. Lock internet allows you to lock all internet from the device. So this will allow the device to operate in a disconnected mode from the internet, essentially allowing the user to use it offline without any internet access. The final lock completely locks the device except for applications that have been excluded. The phone is always excluded from this. However, it only allows certain numbers when it's in the locked mode, including 911. We also recommend from the call and SMS tab to add other allowed numbers, for example, the accountability partner or a parent, so that when the device is locked, they can reach out to somebody other than 911. The next tab here is time rules. Here's the application exceptions that I was referring to. And you'll notice that I don't have any time limits enabled right now. Once I enable those, though, I can choose which applications I want to be exempt from time limits. So let's say, for example, I always want to be able to use the calculator, whether the phone is locked or not. That's an application I'm okay with. I move that over to the excluded from all restrictions, and now that application will be available when the phone locks, either for time or for the phone lock. The 2 different kinds of time locks here are available. We do have time range limiting. So by default, this is set to allow 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I can change this to 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. for Sunday. And if I want to add an additional range for Sunday, I can add a range, and then I can say from 4 p.m., well, let's actually say from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. So now this device will be able to be used on Sunday from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. It will lock between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. And then from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., I'll be able to resume use of the device. I'm going to go ahead and clear that out, disable the time restrictions. And then we'll look at time allowance. So I can also set a time allowance on the device for each day. So if I only want this device to be used for 60 minutes, I can give an allowance of 60 minutes for Monday. Once the 60 minutes is up, the device will lock and only exempted applications will be able to be used. If I want to get an alert when the time limit runs out, I can check this option and that will send me an alert when the limit is reached. The next tab here is Application Rules. So this is going to be a list of all the applications that are installed on the device. We also have this option here on top to block newly installed applications. With this enabled, this will still allow them to install applications from the App Store, but any new application will by default be blocked. So as soon as that install is detected, the application will block as soon as it's launched. This gives you the option to then review the app and approve it. So as you can see, I've got all my applications here. If I want to find a specific app, I can search. So I'm going to look for the calculator app here. You can see I've got the same block, allow, and visibility settings as we've had on the other tabs. So this application is allowed. If I want to disable this application from use, this will completely block this application. Anytime the user launches this application, they'll get the NetAngel lock screen. This is currently recording any application usage. If I don't want to see this in my usage history, I can deselect the application history. Also, I can alert myself anytime this app is launched by selecting Alert. The next option here, there's some advanced options for your applications. This again goes back to the same view that we had in the history view. Here you can see that we've got the application access, which is what's accessible from the list. And then also we have the internet options. If I want to allow all internet access for this application or disable all internet access for this application, essentially making this an offline app. Do be aware that enabling all internet access for this application could have implications if this application has an embedded browser. It could allow me to browse the web to all sorts of different sites. And you can also see the different internet visibility settings. If you don't want us to track the internet access for this application, you can actually disable that or set specifically alerts. Anytime this application accesses the internet, you can get an alert. And again, you can exclude this application from the time locks as we've already done. The final tab here is Call and SMS. I have Call and SMS features enabled. This will log all of my calls and SMS to the NetAngel dashboard. I also have the option to send a warning message to each recipient the first time they receive a message from me. So this will allow me, if I enable this, everybody that sends or receives a message from me the first time will get this message letting them know that they're being monitored with NetAngel, just so they're aware. We also have call blocking options, and this is where you do need to add a phone number for when the phone locks to always allow. So for example, if I always want this device to be able to call NetAngel, we typically recommend adding your accountability partner or a parent here. I'm going to go ahead and put in the NetAngel phone number. And I'll add that to my always allowed list. This number will always be allowed to be called even if the phone is locked. We also have the option to block all calls except the allowed list. So this is handy if you've got a child that you only want to be able to call certain numbers. You can enable this feature and then just add the list of phone numbers you want that phone to be able to call. All of their calls will be ended as soon as they're received or dialed if they're not on the allowed list. You can also just block a specific number. If there's a problematic number, you can just add that, and that phone number will always be blocked whether the phone is locked or not.